keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in. Full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/com/radio. Really happy to be back alive and well on this Monday, April 9th, 2018. And a lot of shit going on. Looks like shit's about to hit the fan over in Syria, and we're just gonna do what we can to prevent it. Because the situation there is already bad, and so we cover foreign policy stuff relentlessly on the antimedia.com, and if you just go to the homepage right now, you'll see it's like 60-70% foreign policy stuff, because look, it's the single biggest issue in the United States. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to be concerned about: the drug war, mass incarceration, police violence, Trump and his anti-civil rights bullshit going on. But there is one single huge issue that overshadows everything else, and it's foreign policy, because the United States is the sole empire on the earth right now. That may be changing sometime soon with the rise of China, and who knows what's going to happen with that. But America is a big-ass empire, and unfortunately, there's basically nobody left to oppose it. I mean, back during the Bush years, I remember the Democrats were very anti-war, and then Obama got elected, and then basically any semblance of an anti-war movement died off with Obama, and everybody kind of went to bed. Everyone that was against the Iraq war kind of just went to bed and was like, all right, man, we'll just let Obama end it on his own, And Obama briefly pulled troops out of Iraq, put them back in shortly thereafter, never ended the war in Afghanistan. In fact, increased the war in Afghanistan for a time, and then winded it down somewhat, and that war is just ongoing. It doesn't seem like that's ever going to end. It honestly seems like the United States is no longer in the business of fighting wars with an objective, or to beat a certain group or a certain country or remove a certain dictator or whatever they used to tell us before. Now the United States enters into these conflicts with one foot in, one foot out, and it just goes on forever. Like, I don't know what it's going to take to end the war in Afghanistan, besides maybe a collapse of this country, because at this point it's like, 17 years later, and what have we accomplished besides ensuring that these guys can grow a shitload of heroin? I mean, what other thing can we say we really accomplished? Sure, they got bin Laden supposedly, and that whole story is muddled. No one knows the truth. There was a guy who claims to have killed bin Laden the other day, saying that, the photos are fake and they need to release the real photos. We don't know what the hell happened. The whole thing is fishy. Iraq just goes on and on and on. And then the U.S. inserted itself into Syria under the guise of fighting ISIS. We all know what the real thing is. They're trying to topple Assad and all that. And then Trump, last week, came out and said, you know what? We're done in Syria. We're going to pull our troops out. ISIS is pretty much defeated. We're going to leave it to the guys, the people in the area to handle, mop it up. And then, as soon as he says that, the media jumps on him and they're like, oh, well, this is going to be a win for Russia. And, oh, he's handing the oil over to Iran. I mean, these are literal headlines. Let me pull the article up here. I mean, it's unbelievable the way the media is like so deeply pro-empire. On April 6th, we published an article, theantimedia.com. The media lost its shit over the possibility of U.S. troops leaving Syria. Headline from Washington Post: in Syria, we took the oil. Now Trump wants to give it to Iran. Okay, Washington Post. CNN: Trump promised to get out of Syria very soon. Could be a win for Russia. Okay, CNN. And basically everyone else in the establishment media, as you could probably guess by now, was just like, oh my God, I can't believe he's going to pull us out of Syria. And then, so of course, on the heels of this Trump comment saying he's going to pull us out of Syria, maybe Bashar al-Assad is the dumbest son of a bitch that's ever walked the face of the planet. But the moment Trump says, okay, maybe we'll pull our troops out of Syria, it's like, okay, chemical attack. So either Assad is the dumbest motherfucker that walks the earth, or there's something very fishy about the timing of this chemical attack. And not only that...
Israel.
Yeah, and not only that, but none of the other chemical attacks have been legitimately investigated. In fact, James Mattis, one of Trump's national security people, military advisors, he admitted not too long ago that there isn't any proof that we have that Assad is the one using sarin gas and doing these chemical attacks. We don't know if they're actually happening. We don't know if Assad is behind them. We don't know if the rebels are actually the ones doing them and then blaming it on Assad, which in my opinion is probably the more likely scenario. Or like DB was hinting, maybe another country is doing this, trying to get the U.S. further involved. Anyway, we're going to talk about this stuff tonight and some other stuff. Let's get the panel going. My longtime co-host, DB Schwartz, is joining us. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, I'm just sitting here. It'd be amusing if it wasn't so serious and people weren't dying. How theatrical and fucking overplayed this bullshit is, but I guess people are still buying into it, or maybe they're just being forced to fight. I have no idea. And I'm seeing Iran take advantage of this too. I mean, if we fight Russia, Iran will pretty much cement its control over most of that area. Saudi Arabia is not going to do much without our backing if we're busy over in Syria. So it could shift the whole global power structure because of the oil coming through the strait. And if Iran basically takes control of both sides of the strait, they're going to be able to knock 20-25% of the oil reserves out if they feel like it.
Yeah, it's no game. I mean, this is a big deal right now. Also joining us tonight, our awesome journalist Jake Anderson. What's up, Jake?
Hey, man. It's hard not to be a conspiracy theorist when a year to the day Assad supposedly launches another chemical attack on his own people right as Trump is saying he's going to, pull out of Syria. I mean, it's
come on.
It's just, I mean, most people aren't paying attention, so they don't see how ridiculous it is. But, I mean, really, it's just, they haven't proven any of the attacks the same way they didn't prove that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. They don't need to do that anymore. They're not trying to end these wars. There is no objective except to have permanent war, like you were saying. And Syria is just Syria is on the list. You know, it was on the list of Project for a New American Century, and they're just going through, and that's the one thing that liberals will cheerlead Trump on. It's the one thing the establishment, you know, pushes Trump on, and, you know, that's how Trump proves himself as a president, is they want him to keep doing these wars, and it's so obvious. You know, I listen to both spectrums of the media, but I probably listen to a little bit more left-wing, you know, stuff like NPR and OPB here in Portland, and it's just unbelievable. All the commentators today were these quote-unquote military analysts who are clearly, you know, funneled right from the State Department to preach propaganda, and literally every single one of them was the exact same thing. You know, this is a serious issue. Trump has to strike. That's the only way to send a message. It's like, dude, we haven't even proven what happened yet. It's like the day after, and you're already saying launch a military attack. It's just unbelievable.
Guilty until proven innocent. I mean, there hasn't even been time to get people in there to actually investigate. I mean,
it's so clearly propaganda. That's like the number one mark of a false flag propaganda. I mean, okay, I won't even use the word false flag. It's the number one mark of ideological opportunism, and is when you're already prescribing a solution before you even fully flesh out what happened.
Yeah, exactly. DB, go ahead, dude.
I was just gonna say, I know I've met a guy, you know, just through social media that lives over there. He's a comedian, dude. I don't know, maybe you guys have heard of him, but I don't really want to put his name out on blast. But he was telling me that, you know, Assad actually has like widespread support in a lot of the country, and it's asinine to think he would use a political suicide attack like this. Like, he can't, if it comes out that it's proven that it was him or under his orders, like, he's not going to be able to, like, get away with this. So if he did this, he was either super desperate, like he thought something insane was going to happen, or it's a false flag, dude. And it seems more likely that it's that, and that the supposed airstrikes that were coming from, I think it was like Lebanese airspace, were probably our backstabbing buddy over there.
Yeah, so look, you guys know I'm skeptical of many people who claim false flags and conspiracies, because most times there's a much more logical and simple answer to this, and conspiracies are very hard to pull off. But in this case, I'll put myself out there and just say it. I think this was a false flag.
Nice.
It's like, you know, I don't say that very often at all. But this has been multiple times, and in fact, and now I don't want to take Russian state media at surface level, right? Because the Russians, you know, I know many of our listeners probably enjoy RT because of their coverage of U.S. policy and stuff, and they do a good job on a lot of that stuff. When it comes to what's going on in Syria, RT is just as bad as the Washington Post, but in a pro-Russian slant, right? Now, that being said, it was only a few weeks ago where the Russian media put out an article saying, hey, we have evidence that the rebels are going to try to pull off a chemical attack and blame it on Assad. I mean, they said that a couple weeks ago. Now, were they trying to provide cover for themselves because they knew Assad was going to do that? Maybe. But, you know, the fact of the matter is they called this out ahead of time, where it was going to be at. And, you know, it's just, it's fishy. It's very fishy.
There's two very clear reasons, too. I mean, not only does this, you know, extend the war there and you know, extend that political objective, but it also essentially forces Trump to condemn Putin and Assad. I mean, not just Assad, it forces Trump to finally condemn Russia, which is what they got out of him, which, you know, Trump has barely said anything bad about Putin.
Which is what these guys have been wanting.
Right, exactly. So there's I mean, look, we don't know if it was a false flag, but we also don't know that Syria did it. So the people saying that, the people on one side saying that it was definitely Syria are just as conspiratorial and false as anyone claiming anything else. We don't know. What we do know is that this is, you know, looks very suspiciously like, you know, they wanted a certain outcome to happen. And it's just, man, I wonder has anyone looked at, like, what are some of the Trump supporters saying, you know?
Well,
about what?
You know, about, you know, whether Trump is going to attack Syria or not. I mean,
I think it depends on if you have various kinds of Trump supporters. You have the Fox News consumers, and you have constitutional conservatives. A lot of them, what a lot of people call a gun nut, and then you do have the people that are very, very red pilled and buying into the Q, the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. You know, so far, I mean, it's a blend of all three of those things that are kind of making me see that it's. I think they realize that there has been for a long time a conspiracy, and it was broken up before by a guy named Smedley Butler. But these fucking people don't sleep. Like, they just keep having psychopathic kids, and they keep wanting to try to take over the world, and they don't stop. So I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, they're trying to make a huge war now because they got caught again, just like they got caught 100 years ago. And I don't know, man. I honestly,
what do you mean?
If we're going to evolve, we have to get past giving control to these people. These people need to be eradicated somehow.
Hey, what do you mean they got caught?
So the internet has caught these people because our parents have no idea what is going on. And we, more or less, because of our exposure to the internet, have a pretty fair idea of what's going on. So all I can say is that they were operating in the shadows forever. The internet was supposed to track us, but it exposed them instead. I mean, the NSA is a civilian-run organization, and it's quasi-military. It is not an ABC organization like the CIA or FBI. It's not private. It's publicly funded. It's publicly accountable. A lot of people don't know the CIA, FBI. They're private. I mean, they're corporations. Well,
look, headline, again, out of Washington Post. Trump's strikes on Syria last year were pretty popular. This is Washington Post headline today. Quote, Trump ended up authorizing an attack on a Syrian military airfield, and it quickly became one of his most popular foreign policy decisions to date among both mainstream Republican lawmakers and Americans. 2/3 of Americans approved, including nearly 90% of Republicans and a noteworthy 48% of Democrats, according to an April 2017 poll. And the article goes on to say, well, you know, Trump cares about his ratings and cares about media coverage, so if that's any indication, we're going to go ahead and push him in the direction of bombing Syria, basically, is what the article more or less says. Of course, I'm paraphrasing there.
Well, who's bombing who, or what's being hit over there? Because I feel like if there's an internal war going on where the military is knocking out deep state assets, which are basically mercenaries over there, psychopaths themselves, and we've been hitting them, and now they're trying to draw us into a war with Russia to like cover the tracks. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, man. It was a proxy war they're trying to make into a hot war so that it covers all the tracks and that they can get away with all these horrible atrocities.
Yeah, that actually wouldn't surprise me, because I've been asking you for a while, how the hell are they going to get away with a war with Russia? But at this point, it's starting to look like a war with Russia would accomplish a lot of things at once.
And what's China's role? And what are they going to do? Are they going to just sit and wait, or are they going to get involved in their own
China's
empire
smart. They don't fucking get involved in these stupid, regional conflicts.
But they have aspirations and they have needs, and their populations outstrip their ability to feed it. So, I mean, they have dreams of expanding one day.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude. Headline from CNN. China says relations with Russia at, quote, best level in history.
Well, if it's from CNN, that's the opposite then.
Yeah, but there's actually some truth to this. I don't know if you guys saw this a few days ago, but some new Russian military executive went over and the new Chinese guy, one of the foreign ministers or whatever. He went to Russia and he said, "Look, we have your back if push comes to shove with the U.S." And China's kind of kept its hands clean throughout all this foreign policy stuff, and I think Russia's kind of been taking the heat. And again, Russia took the heat on the election stuff too. And I think this is part of their plan, and what Russia and China is actually trying to accomplish here is they're using Russia as this big distraction where it's like, oh my God, Russia's doing this and Russia's doing that and Russia's backing Assad. when in reality, China is behind the scenes building this One Belt, One Road initiative and is building an empire like right under our noses. And meanwhile, all these liberal fools and all these fools in the media are so concerned with Russia. No one's really noticing that China is literally like taking over the world right now. And sure, the U.S. has an advantage with its military infrastructure and stuff. But dude, like the world, we've talked about this before, man. Like a lot of these kind of traditional military weapons could be rendered useless by hackers and cyber warfare and stuff like that. I mean, I think the big story is that Russia has taken the heat for Syria and for Iran and for the election and all that stuff, but I can see Chinese fingerprints all over all this stuff.
Hey, did you see it's breaking right now on NBC? U.S. officials confirm Israel launched pre-dawn airstrike on Syria. That just popped up.
Wow.
So those guys are done, dude. If you think Netanyahu has a chance in hell of surviving even to the end of this year, politically, he's done. He's over. It's over, dude. It's over.
Yeah. And yeah, so look, let me get this straight. Last week and over the weekend, there's all this media coverage about how Israel capped off on all those protesters, and in fact, one of our close associates, News to Share, which is a cool live streaming news network that we support. One of their contractors was over there in Gaza, and he feeds in like video content and stuff. He got sniped, and he was wearing a vest that said "press" right on it. Like, this guy was a straight up journalist. He wasn't a protester. He wasn't doing anything but out there documenting, and they sniped him. They killed him. He's dead. The Israeli government killed the guy. And I don't know him personally, but he's a contractor of one of the guys that we work with. And they killed dozens of people. They killed dozens of protesters. And they're dropping, I don't know if you guys saw that, they're dropping fucking tear gas out of little mini drones, little quadcopters and shit. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I mean, they're using chemical weapons and they're killing innocent protesters. And then I'm trying to discern between what Israel just did literally a few days ago and what now Assad is being accused of. Is Assad not being accused of using chemical weapons and killing civilians? And is that not exactly what Israel just did a few days ago? For the whole world to see it. And yet, the discussion we're having right now is, oh, hey, by the way, one of our allies who we send fucking $5 billion a year to or whatever it is now is using those weapons to fucking kill people and drop chemical weapons on protesters. Is that the conversation we're having right now? Or are we having a conversation of there's a chemical attack which we have no proof of that is likely a fucking false flag and we're about to start a new war over that because we don't like that guy? It's so patently obvious. I feel like the average American person, if they don't understand what's fucking going on by now, there's no hope for those people. They are perpetually inundated. They are so stuffed full of propaganda that there's no hope for these fools.
I guarantee you most people have no idea. They literally do not understand the concept that the mainstream media is lying through propaganda to advance an agenda. They don't get it.
And it was made legal, remember this.
Yeah. In 2012 it was made legal.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. And look,
it's got to be used for something more than just manufacturing consent, because I don't think they care as much anymore. I swear they're just trying to move everyone towards some kind of nefarious agenda en masse. It could be the thing that saves you could be ignoring the mass media.
And look at this, dude. I mean, this really blows me away. Nikki Haley, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, twice in the past few weeks blocked an investigation by the UN to look into what Israel's doing on the Gaza Strip, because not only are they blasting and sniping these protesters, dropping tear gas on them, which is a banned chemical weapon in warfare, they're doing airstrikes too. And who knows how many people are dying over there. We don't even know, right? Nikki Haley blocked a UN inquiry into that twice in the past few weeks. And yet, the same woman, I don't know if she's made any comments yet on this recent airstrike, or this recent supposed gas attack. But judging by her past statements, we're probably going to see her on TV tomorrow or the next day talking about how something needs to be done. In fact, she's already saying that with or without the UN, the U.S. is going to do something about Syria. So on one hand, you got the U.S. blocking investigations into what Israel is doing, an ally of ours, while at the same time basically saying, hey, let's go ahead and act now and investigate later when it comes to Syria. Like, we don't need evidence that he used chemical weapons. He's an asshole. We know he used chemical weapons. Let's go ahead and do something about that right now. Like, the hypocrisy is fucking astounding, dude. Like, it blows me away that this level of hypocrisy is okay. Like, how do these people even get to talk or have a platform? And also what is annoying me too, and this is something that I was thinking about today as this stuff started heating up, because it looks bad. I mean, like I said, the last time Trump did something popular was when he bombed Syria. Really, that was the last time. And judging by that, he's going to go start a bunch of shit in Syria. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's out of his hands probably at this point, because they've done so much propaganda to make Russia into the bad guy. I mean, anything that can be seen as damaging Russia, like bombing Syria,
well, dude, also
is going to be supported.
This just occurred to me, but Trump right now is going through this Stormy Daniels thing, and there is a long precedent of presidents launching military actions to distract from extramarital affairs. I mean, I think that's lower on the list of what's going on, but if people came to Trump and said, look, we have an opportunity to launch a military strike, which everyone knows is good for the incumbent president, I don't think Trump would have turned that down right now. So it's just kind of like a perfect storm of factors going on.
Yeah, exactly. Trump needs a distraction too. And then, of course, the thing today, the FBI went and raided his lawyer's office, which is the same lawyer who is the one who paid off Stormy Daniels, right? And so Trump's got a lot of heat, and he could use a distraction, not only a regular distraction, but a big one that'll make that story go away.
He could very well fire Mueller at this point, too, right as he launches the attack. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do that.
Yeah, and no one can criticize a fucking a president who's in the middle of a military campaign, right? And then amid all that shit, at the same time, we've been deplatformed, right? Like, these fools try to take away our voice right before this big ass fucking shitstorm is about to hit on foreign policy, dude. And again, going back to the Syria thing, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the recent statements from Russia, but Russia said that it will no longer tolerate any U.S. military strikes against the Syrian government. Russia has already said that it's not going to allow that to happen anymore. I don't know what they mean. I know Russia's got some really good anti-aircraft stuff in Syria. I don't know if they're planning on shooting down American aircraft and stuff like that. But just imagine, Putin has said that he's not going to allow the U.S. military to hit the Syrian government. If Russian artillery were to take down a U.S. jet or U.S. bomber or whatever, just imagine how much tensions are going to ratchet up after that. And so you've got Syria as a steadfast ally of Iran and Russia, and China just said, hey, Russia, we have your back if some shit pops off with the U.S., and the statement just saying Russian and Chinese relations have never been better. Amid all that, you got this trade war thing going on. It ain't looking good, dude. Like, I know we've said this before, and maybe because we're just constantly at war, we're constantly having to talk about this shit. But this moment in time looks really bad. And tomorrow, Trump said he's going to make a decision on what they're going to do to Syria. They already said they're going to do something within the next 24 to 48 hours. We don't know what it's going to be. They're probably talking to Russia right now, trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do. But John Bolton, Trump's new national security advisor, he just came in, he just started serving. This guy's the most hawkish motherfucker ever. Like, ever. And he's had a hard-on for Iran for like decades. This whole thing could drag a bunch of different countries down with it. Russia, China, the U.S., all of our NATO allies, Iran. I mean, I don't even want to talk about North Korea right now. But if worst case scenario this thing escalates, I mean, we're gonna look back on it some years from now and we'll say, yeah, that was World War III. And the fucking media is cheering this shit on. And nobody's there to fucking stop it. Like, who is actually going to put a stop to this? Are the fucking liberals going to walk out and march in the streets, say, hey, we don't want Trump going to war? No! I'd be more inclined to think they're going to be out marching for them to bomb Russia. Just to prove that he's not Putin's fucking puppet.
Oh yeah, if Trump decided not to do anything, liberals would be saying that, you know, they'll do anything. Whatever Trump does, they'll go for the opposite, except war.
Yeah, because the media fucking. You remember last time when Trump bombed that the Syrian government? You know, that's when what's his name from CNN, Fareed, what's his name? He was like, oh, he's finally presidential, and all these media pundits were like jocking Trump all of a sudden after he bombed some other government.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
It's the most sickening thing. The media is so like, the media is like firmly in the grip of the empire, right? And they must get so much fucking funding from like the military contractors. That's the only way I can explain it. Is like they get a bunch of money from these military contractors for their advertisements or whatever. You know, have you guys seen like those Northrop Grumman ads and like the Boeing ads and shit? It's like, why in the fuck are Northrop Grumman putting ads on TV? Who the fuck buys Northrop Grumman? The only thing they do is make drones for the military to bomb and kill people. And so what those guys do is they don't advertise to sell products. They advertise to get the media companies into a conflict of interest where they can't criticize them.
Yeah, they're marking their territory.
Northrop Grumman, hey, NBC, here's $10 million for this year. We want you guys to, you know, run our ads every now and then for our fucking drones.
And Big Pharma is almost more insidious because they make you ask your doctor.
And then NBC's like, oh, cool, they're giving us $10 million this year. Okay, let's make sure not to make sure not to piss them off because we want to keep that $10 million coming in next year too. And so NBC said, all right, anything involving Northrop Grumman, just kill that. Don't even bother reporting on it. And by the way, these guys make profit from war, so we got to stir up some shit. Like that's the only way I could explain it because the media is so goddamn pro-empire. And like you said, Jake, they bring on these quote-unquote experts, right? These Fox News contributors or whatever you want to call them. They bring them on these shows, and like 80% of those guys are working for military contractors. The Intercept has actually investigated that, and like literally most of those guys they show on TV, it's like, oh, our foreign policy analyst and our Russia analyst or whatever. 80% or something, like it's a huge percentage of those guys actually work for people like Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Raytheon and all these fuckers that build these weapons. They work for them and they go on TV to sell us these wars. Like that, and not only that, not only does the media do that, not only they think we're that fucking stupid, and I'm sorry, but most of the people in this country actually are, because no one's fucking doing shit to stop any of this stuff. Not only do they do that, they don't even disclose the fact that these people work for the companies who would benefit from the policies that they're advocating. So these guys come on Fox News like, oh yeah, dude, like here's the case for bombing Syria, and here's the case for taking out Iran. And meanwhile, if that were to actually happen, this dude's going to pocket an extra $1 million because the company he works for makes the bombs that they drop. That disclosure's never made on the media, dude. Like, it's horrible. It's horrible. And it's like everyone, dude. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, NBC, Fox News, all the big names, all the fuckers that you've seen, the only fucking news outlets you see on Facebook anymore because Facebook went ahead and deplatformed independent media. Those guys are all in bed with the empire, dude. And anybody who is not in bed with the empire, and I looked at all the people they accuse of being Russian news outlet, Russian funded, stooges for the Kremlin. I looked at every single one of those websites. Some of them were bullshit, fake news, like Your Newswire and all that shit. The majority of them were not in bed with the empire. They questioned the foreign policy. And anyone that questioned the foreign policy, you're a stooge for the Kremlin, basically, is the message that was sent. So everybody that was not in bed with the empire got deplatformed by Facebook just in time for this shit to pop off. Maybe they had to wait for the algorithm to kick fully in before they said, all right, the algorithm's in, drop the chemical weapon over there, and let's blame it on Assad, and let's kick this motherfucker off once and for all. Like, I hope that's not what's happening, but
God,
sure
you're right.
that
did happen at the same time. Good God.
Like, they deplatformed anyone that could challenge the fucking wars, and now they're getting ready to start some big-ass war, and they got John Bolton calling the fucking shots up there, dude. Like, this guy is the biggest, scariest motherfucker. And then, there's another thing. Now they're putting troops on the fucking border just in time, dude. Just in time.
You know why, though, Nick? We talked about this years ago, about what I told you that they saw on satellites in Mexico. They're not trying to let 500,000 Chinese troops pour over the border, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to look more into that. I've never been able to find any proof of that. But still, look, the point I want to make here on this wall shit, and this, not the wall shit, the fucking putting the National Guard at the border, right? Look, dude, look at the numbers. The amount of crossings are the lowest they've ever been since they started taking records. I think since the 70s, the numbers have not been lower. Like, people aren't even coming. There's more Mexicans leaving the U.S. than coming in at this point, and I'm not even playing about that. That's a legitimate statistic. Yeah, there's people coming from Central America that are fleeing these drug wars and shit. Those fools are many of which victims of U.S. imperialism from a long time ago and from even more recent, including, you know, Honduras and stuff like that. Just as this shit kicks off, for no fucking reason at all, Trump is wanting to put station troops at the border. And guess what? Those guns ain't going to be facing into Mexico. They're going to be turned back, and they're faced this way and make sure you guys can't leave. That's what this shit's going to be for, dude. We've been saying it. Look, we've been saying it. We've been saying it's a possibility. The first time I actually thought about that was when I was watching the presidential debates in 2012, and Ron Paul actually was saying, like, yeah, if you guys build a big-ass wall and all that, he's like, if shit hits the fan, it's actually going to be used to keep us in and not let us out. Look, if shit starts hitting the fan like that, there's a point to that. Those troops ain't going to be holding out Mexicans. You think any fools from South America are going to want to come up here when we're in a fucking big-ass war and a bomb could go off at any time? You think immigrants are trying to come to the U.S. when bombs are dropping in this country? And look, in World War II, we got off easy because at the time, the only thing the Nazis could have thrown at us were you know, submarines that could get that far. And the Japanese only were able to make it to Hawaii. They, you know, like, we've been isolated from the shit for a long time because of our geographical location. Just because there's a Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean literally separating us away from, you know, all the horrible shit that actually goes on in wars. Yeah, in American wars, we get dudes to sign up for the military, whether they volunteer, they get drafted, and we send them off and they fight in some other country, and that country gets to deal with all the shit that goes on during a war. The United States hasn't had a war on our soil in a very, very long time. And so when that shit, now they got intercontinental missiles, they got weapons that can hit us. China's already got satellites up there probably carrying missiles and shit, right? Now we can get hit. There's no ocean separating us when we can get hit from a fucking missile, right? You think immigrants are going to be trying to come up here during that time? No. People that are here trying to be getting out. Fools are going to be trying to get to Canada, dude. All these dudes that are going to get drafted if this shit does hit the fan, they're all going to be trying to get out. I know I am. I'm not getting drafted. And I'm not going to jail either. So either I get out or I'm taking people down with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but look, this border shit, it's all fucking nonsense. We don't have a problem at the border. I live 5 miles from the border. We don't got a problem over here. Our problem is that the fucking walls over there separating people getting their families getting split up, people getting deported. That's our problem. I live in the very south end of San Diego, and I'll tell you what, dude, immigrants are the biggest boon to our economy. Immigrants keep our economy going over here, dude. Like, people welcome immigrants around here. Like we love it because they bring hundreds of millions of dollars into the economy around here. All the businesses around here rely on them. If they're putting up a wall, it is not for our good. If you think the government is doing some shit to protect us, good fucking luck. I got some oceanfront property in fucking Colorado, I'll tell you. If you think the government's going to go put troops on our border to help us. If you think that, no, dude. The U.S. government is putting troops on the border to control us, not immigrants. They need immigrants because who else is going to pay into Social Security? Who's going to pay for all this fucking shit that they owe, all this debt? You think we're going to pay for it on our own? Us people having less and less kids every year, there hardly going to be any kids left next generation. A couple generations from now. Who's going to pay all that debt? Crazy. Got to have immigrants coming in. So what they're going to do is set up a thing where immigrants come in, nobody goes out. Let the immigrants in, but don't let nobody out. That's what these fools, I'm telling you, dude, like, that's what these dudes have in mind. Because there isn't an immigration crisis. It's very low compared to what it was before. Very, very low. Like, on one hand, it makes sense because all these dumbass voters think that Mexicans are taking our jobs and blah, blah, blah. And half of them believe that shit Trump said, that they're bringing rapists and they're bringing, all this crime and all that shit, when of course it's not factual. Immigrants are responsible for much less crime than natural, locally born American citizens. But it is an emotional ploy for the conservative voters who think it's true, but it's not based in reality. The border is how we make a bunch of money. The immigrants come in, they boost the economy, they drive up property values, they buy more houses, they rent more apartments, they create more jobs. Any economist, ask any economist.
Some immigrants.
I mean, sure, there's always a handful of bad people that come in with the mass, dude. I mean, but it's just a statistic, bro. Like, that's just, out of every 100
immigrants
people,
are better than our immigrants.
Out of every 100 people, there are going to be 2 criminals regardless of which country you pick. You know what I'm saying? But
there's still segments of entire parts of the world where people don't do shit, and then they come and they leech. So I'm not afraid to say that your immigrants are better than ours.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm not gonna say that there aren't some immigrants that come and take advantage of stuff, dude. But overall, I mean, most immigrants come out here looking for a better life, looking for religious freedom, looking for an opportunity, looking for a damn job, education. Most. I mean, there's a percentage of bad people too, but overall, immigrants are good, in my opinion. So this border shit, it's a big ploy. They're putting troops down there because they couldn't get the wall. I mean, this to me, dude. I'm looking at this from a very dystopian standpoint, especially because I live so close to the border. I mean, we're basically at the point where it's like, oh shit, we're now occupied by the damn National Guard at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're that close. And you already got that constitutional free zone within 100 miles of the border. So, what? Am I going to be going outside, walking to the store, and a Humvee pulls up on me, checking for my papers and shit? Like, how bad is it going to get? I mean, we're talking about some shit that if Obama started doing this kind of stuff, all these fools would be like, oh my God, it's martial law, we got to fucking get our guns and head to the hills and shit. This is bad. Like, this is Jade Helm. This shit is Jade Helm, what they thought Obama was going to do. Trump's doing it, and these fools are cheering it on. Like, this is the thing. This is the beauty of the political propaganda, the way they divide and conquer and get everyone onto a team, and it's like these tribalistic tendencies they exploit in the human nature. But you guys remember when Jade Helm was happening, and all these motherfuckers were like, oh my God, Obama's going to do the communist takeover, and blah, 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 blah. Like, all these theories popped up, right? And, of course, nothing came of it. My original theory... DB, you'll remember this. My original theory was that they were trying to contain in case of a Mexican revolution, and it was spilling over the border, and that the military was going to try to contain that. That was my original theory about Jade Helm. I didn't think it was some martial law preparation or whatever. But now looking at Jade Helm, now that Trump's in charge, all these right-wing conspiracy theory guys, they're all like, oh yeah, Trump is in like a conspiracy for the good. Like, he's conspiring to help us now. When in reality, this fool's pulling off a bunch of shit that Obama couldn't have done. Banning bump stocks, talking shit on the Second Amendment, sending National Guard to like literally occupy parts of the country. This is very concerning stuff. Putting military and again, maybe I'm just concerned because I'm going to be actually affected by it like right away because I live so close and I go to Mexico so often. But this ain't good stuff. This is not good stuff. And when was the last time the government actually was looking out for us and had our back? Oh yeah, bro, we're gonna go have your back at the border and make sure all the bad guys don't come in. They don't give two fucks about the bad guys. They need the bad guys, otherwise they wouldn't exist. If the government couldn't give itself an excuse to exist, like catching bad immigrants and putting people in jail and keeping people safe, well, what would be their reason for existing? They need the bad guys to come in. They need the drug dealers. That's the reason these guys never fully stop drugs. Why the CIA allows some drugs to come in, allows some cartels immunity. They need the bad guys so that they can make busts and say, oh, look what we did. We caught these guys and we did this and we helped you guys out. But nah, I'm not buying the border thing, dude. This is a frightening development, trapping us in. At least Canada is more porous, right? So when
there's nothing up here, dude.
Shit does hit the fan. You guys up north can head north.
We're chilling. Hey, bro, though, you really have to think about it, though. Like, if they were trying to box people in, it would be up here, too. So my personal opinion, though, is that we're going to go into a huge war soon, and they're going to try to stem off any invasion from Mexico. That's just my opinion.
Well, look, I think Canada is so...
You can't invade from Canada because of the climate and the topography, but it's easy to invade from Mexico.
Yeah, but Canada is so far into our sphere of influence, they might as well be up our fucking ass, right?
Canada burned down the Pink House, and that's why we have the White House. So Canada's not always been our friend. No,
but still, they are involved in NATO, and they're helping us duke it out over there with Russia, right? So I don't think they'd be too worried about keeping people from going to Canada because in a World War III scenario, I think Canada it would just be assumed Canada becomes part of the United States. Maybe not officially, but maybe officially, maybe not. But it's just de facto part of the U.S. sphere of influence, right? Mexico is further outside of that sphere right now, and so Mexico actually would be a safer place if someone were to be trying to dodge the draft. Going to Mexico would be a safer bet. Because you go to Canada and they're just going to scoop you up, send you back across the border.
That's true.
And also, I can definitely see a scenario where China aligns itself closer, or Mexico aligns itself closer to China and says, you know what, maybe this thing ain't working out with the U.S.
But that's kind of crazy, though. I mean, if you really think about it, like, that's just asking for us to do something to them.
Yeah, and then into that thing you're talking about. Is there Chinese troops down there in Mexico right now? I haven't seen the evidence, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, it wouldn't be it would be cheap for them to buy off the narco government with all their money.
Yeah, you know what? China needs drugs too.
But I mean, honestly, what is China? How much do you think they are worth? I mean, couldn't they buy off the government of Mexico for like pennies?
Yeah, dude. China is it's getting so strong. Like, I think
their middle class is the same size as our entire country.
Yeah, I think people just don't understand it because they never been out there. My brother went to China for a while, and it's just an enormous place with lots of resources, and especially human resources. And I think China...
they want our food, dude. They want our farms.
And China, for a long time, has been getting shit on by everybody, right? Everyone's been shitting on China. Britain shit on China. Japan shit on China. A bunch of European countries...
We actually kind of saved them.
Yeah, I mean, in the last big war, we kind of did them a favor by knocking out the Japanese or whatever, but... China's been shit on for a long time, and I think they want their reparations. And I don't think it ain't going to look good for Japan. I can tell you that much.
I don't think they have anything to worry about at all.
Yeah, well, Hopefully not. But dude,
Their
like,
technology is higher than ours, dude. So I mean, they probably have shit that we can't even dream of.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully for their own sake, I hope they're prepared. I think people underestimate the strength of China. It should, and I know I've been harping on this for at least a couple years now, but it's because it's so damn true, man. Like China has, they've done right where we've done wrong. Where we spent trillions of dollars developing that F-35, China went and built infrastructure that spans almost half the Earth to move goods and services around the planet efficiently. And then I don't know if you saw China's stealth fighter, but it looks just like the F-35. So they basically said, "Hey, let the U.S. taxpayer foot the bill. 1.5 trillion. What was the last estimate for that thing? It's like in the trillions at this point." And then let the U.S. taxpayer pay for the F-35, and then once the designs are ready, we'll just copy it and improve it a little bit. And that's basically what they did. Go look at China's stealth fighter; it looks just like the F-35. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. It's like we spent all the money to build the blueprints and then sent it off to China, let them build it. What we're doing right now with Syria is toying with China. China has announced that it was going to be rebuilding in Syria. China announced that it's going to be backing Russia. If the U.S. provokes it too far, we're going to dig a hole too deep that not only the U.S. but all of NATO is not going to be able to climb out of, because we are a has-been. Western civilization past its prime. Now, there's good and there's bad that come from Western civilization. Of course, lots of empire and imperialism and that kind of stuff. Good stuff too. But it passed its prime. The time of the East is going to rise, and I'm guaranteeing you Latin America is going to go to China. The U.S. is going to be left with Canada, England. That might be it. It might be U.S., Canada, and England versus everybody else. Because Europe, dude, can't be counted on, bro. Europe is regressing back to pre-World War II days where it's getting retrenched. And I don't know if you guys saw, but in Hungary, this dude just ran against, his main campaign platform was blaming everything on some Jewish guy. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I mean, the rise of ethnostatism.
That always works.
The rise of ethnostatism in Eastern Europe can't be denied. The rise of anti-establishment nationalism in Italy can't be denied. In fact, France almost elected Marine Le Pen. Britain just pulled out of the EU. I mean, Europe is incohesive as fuck right now. Europe ain't going to be doing shit in the next World War. Europe, I think, is probably going to try to stay out, in fact, because they're right on the doorstep of Russia. I think Eastern Europe is going to be like, no, dude, no. We're not with the U.S. on this one. Like, you guys, you figure it out with the U.S. Leave us out. Like, honestly, I could see that happening. And I could see England, which, of course, is as far separated from everybody else in Europe. England's pretty far away from Russia, and it's separated by, water, right? And so England is somewhat insulated. If it has like a missile defense system, maybe they'll be okay. And the U.S., of course, is way the hell over here on the other side of the planet. I don't think Eastern Europe is going to want to play ball if NATO says, hey, guys, we're going to war with Russia. Oh, yeah, and your country is going to be the fucking front. Start digging trenches. You think Hungarians are going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, like, we just got done running an election based on anti-Semitism. Yeah, dude, we totally have your back. No, I don't think so. I think the world is realigning. U.S. power is declining. That's very obvious. European power, there are some great countries in Northern Europe that are doing really well for themselves, but those guys are they got their own ethno-nationalistic shit going on. They're gonna be infighting and dealing with the EU, and the EU is actually driving them all further apart because the EU is such a piece of shit. Those guys are gonna stay out of this next big one. There's been 2 world wars fought in Europe. This next one ain't gonna be fought in Europe. I don't think so. Maybe the battleground will be in Asia, but the U.S. is probably going to get hit in the next big war. The U.S. will probably get hit a few times, maybe a bunch. And then we're finally going to feel what it's like to have war on our shores. And then we're going to go, damn, we've been doing this to other countries for, 70 years? Holy shit, that's bad. All of a sudden, people are going to be like, wait, maybe war's not such a good idea anymore. But right now, it's popular as shit. Like, I think striking Syria tomorrow would be the only thing Trump could actually do where the majority of people in this country be like, oh, yeah, I'm proud of Trump to be my president today. He just fucking bombed Syria. I'm proud of that. That's the only thing he could do where the majority of people be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Anything else, like Jake said, he can say anything, and the liberals will be like, oh, my God, Trump is such an idiot. And the people on the right will be like, oh, my God, Trump is a brilliant genius.
It'll be interesting to see if...
I love paying more for building materials. I love paying more for cars. Trump is a genius.
If Trump tries to get rid of Mueller, it'll be a unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, because the liberals will have to critique the war, because they'll say, oh, Trump is using the war to try and distract us while he fires Mueller. So that's what I really want to see, because then liberals will be tricked back into being anti-war again.
We gotta trick them, dude.
They have no internal compass. Their compass is not true north.
You know what?
They're just blinded by political venom. So we
got to start spreading the rumor that Putin wants America to be bombing the Syrian government. If Putin wants America to do it, the liberals will be against it.
You know, it would be classic if Trump would just legalize marijuana right before.
There you go. Greenwash it, right?
Then what do you do?
Trump, he's like, all right, marijuana's legal and transgender people can serve in the military. All right, no more opposition to the war. Everybody go ahead and go fight and die, and start a draft up shit while you're at it.
Why not?
I think that honestly, dude, and I've heard plenty of people say this, and I've heard DB say this, and I've heard a bunch of other people say this. The only thing that's going to start up a new anti-war movement is the draft. If they bring back the draft, that's going to start it up. But we have a short amount of time before the next big war is actually going to be automated. You know, it's going to be drones doing all the fighting, and you know, there may be human beings dying in third world countries. Maybe the battleground moves to.
Well, that's what the trend is right now. They're making it to where there's very few American losses, and if there's few American losses, Americans don't care who dies.
Exactly, because
it'll be the same with an automated war.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And look at most countries that have caused these big, widespread damages, like, you know, for instance, Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. They had their people convinced that they were the best people, right? It's like, oh, you know, Germans are pure Aryan blood, and we're better than everyone else, and you know,
Nazi exceptionalism.
Yeah, literally Nazi exceptionalism, right? And the Japanese did a similar thing, and they were all about racial purity, and they felt like they were like God's gift to the earth, and that they could, you know, when they went and fucked up China and massacred, you know, I don't know, 100 million people, it wasn't a big deal because they thought of Chinese as, you know, inferior people. They didn't think of it as a big deal.
Yeah, but I mean, every time, if you've been invaded by China and Russia like 3 or 4 times, like you start to kind of hate them, you know?
That too. Yeah, that too. But, you know,
hey, bro,
the US...
before we're out of time, man, let's everyone keep, you know, don't give up on Facebook, man. We got to try and stop this war again, just like Anti-Media did last time.
Seriously, dude, we got to do
Hey,
something.
I keep seeing people saying they're going to leave Facebook and go to Instagram. I'm pretty sure it's the same shit.
Yeah, no, owned by the same company, dude. Don't do that.
God, what idiot is saying that?
I keep seeing that, and I'm like, what? Do you not understand that they're owned by the same people?
Yeah, I saw a poll the other day. 60% of Americans don't realize that Instagram is owned by Facebook. So.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So, yep. Thank you all for tuning in. Anti-Media Radio. We'll be back. Peace out.
I told you I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing, but call it a reality cause there's no illusion. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.